Ever wondered how secure your Wi-Fi connection really is? With data flying through the air, how can you protect it from hackers and eavesdroppers? In this video, I'll break down the essential layers of wireless network security, authentication, encryption, and message integrity. Learn how to safeguard your data, prevent unauthorized access, and ensure your network stays bulletproof. Whether you're a network admin or just a Wi-Fi user, this is your guide to staying safe online. Ready to lock down your wireless network? Let's get started. As you may have noticed, wireless networks are quite complex. Many protocols work together to provide wireless users with a stable, mobile connection to a wired network infrastructure. So from the end user's point of view, a wireless connection should be no different from a wired connection. Even though the wired connection provides a better sense of security, because in wireless, data travels through the air and can be heard by anyone within range. This is why security in a wireless network becomes very important. It focuses on several points, which must be analyzed with caution. Must identify the endpoints of a wireless connection. Identify the end user. Wireless data must also be protected from eavesdropping and tampering, that is, the modification of data. The point of wireless identification is done through various authentications, and the wireless data protection system is secured with encryption at the Ethernet frame level. We will therefore see several methods that can be used to secure a wireless network. The difficulty in the Wi-Fi chapter is that its full acronyms WEP, PSK, TKP, MIC, AES, EAP, EAP Fast, EAP TLS, LEAP, PP, WPA, WPA2, WPA3, CCMP, GCMP. So don't panic. At the end of the chapter on Wi-Fi security, you will have a clearer vision of the meaning of these different terms, and you'll even be ready to set up a wireless LAN with effective security. What is a secure connection? In previous courses, we have seen how wireless clients form associations with wireless access points, and also how the data was transmitted in both directions. As long as all clients and access points are 802.11 compliant, they can all communicate. The problem is that not all 802.11 devices are reliable. It may happen that the transmitted frames do not go directly from the sender to the receiver, as is the case in a wired or dial-up connection. With wireless, data travels in all directions, from the transmitter antenna until a wearable receiver intercepts the data. In the image, we can see that the wireless client is logged in to the file server in the cloud and is sharing its confidential password. As the data circulates in the air, it is possible that malicious users, who are also within range of the client signal, capture the frames to recover the password. So, how do you secure the data that circulates in an open space? It is the 802.11 standard that will add a layer of security to wireless data by adding trust, confidentiality, and integrity. This is what we will detail right away. To use a wireless network, customers must first discover what is called a set of basic services, the BSS, Basic Service Set, in order to request permission to associate with it. Clients will then have to be authenticated by the access point to access the wireless LAN. The image shows the basic authentication process of a client. This authentication can take many forms, but typically, it is a static string of text that is stored on the client's device and presented to the access point when needed. The problem with this protection alone is that if the user's equipment is lost or stolen, well, anyone will still be able to connect to the LAN using the PC. There is also another danger with this type of authentication. For example, Let's say you're at your workplace or at home or even at an airport, and you're confidently going to the nearest access point. So even if the SSID service set identifier is familiar to you, how can you be sure of the reliability of the access point? In addition, if the PC has already hooked the access point, then it will connect automatically as soon as it sees the SSID broadcast. In both of these cases, you could very well connect to an imposter without a doubt. There are many vulnerabilities and attacks in which a malicious user pretends to be an access point, and when the client reaches the fake access point, the attacker can easily intercept all communications to and from the client from its location. To prevent this type of attack, the client must authenticate the AP before the client itself is authenticated, as shown in this image. In this type of scenario, all frames received by a client must also be authenticated to prove that they were sent from a real access point. That is to say, recognized and reliable. Now we're going to talk about the privacy of messages that circulate in the air. We have seen that the client must identify himself to the access point before joining the wireless network, and that he can also verify its reliability. This provides a relationship of trust between the two pieces of equipment. The problem is that even if there is a relationship of trust between the client and his access point, well, the data that circulates to and from the client on the channel can always be intercepted by anyone, present, of course, in the same area. To protect this data that travels over a wireless network, it must be encrypted. That is, the data will be encrypted before leaving the sender and will be decrypted upon receipt by the receiver. This is an encryption method that the sender and receiver share together, so that the data can be kept confidential as it travels through the air. In wireless networks, each WLAN can support a single authentication and encryption method. That is, all customers must use the same encryption process when they partner. So seen like this. One would think that having a common encryption method would allow each client to listen to all the other clients. Well, that's not really the case, because the access point negotiates a unique encryption key for each associated client. That is to say, each customer will have their own decryption key. The AP and the client will be the only two devices that have the encryption keys in common, so that they can understand each other. No other device can know or use the same keys to listen to and decrypt data. In the image, we can see that the customer's password has been encrypted before being sent. Only the access point will be able to decrypt it before transferring it to the cable network. We have therefore seen that the access point keeps a unique key for each client with whom it exchanges data. So the access point also has a group key that it uses when it wants to send encrypted data to all the clients in its zone at the same time. And each of the customers will use the same group key to decrypt the data. We have seen that the recipient of an encrypted message is able to decrypt it to retrieve its contents. But what happens if someone manages to modify this content along the way? Because if that happens, the recipient would have a lot of trouble knowing that the original data has been modified. This is where message integrity checking comes in, which is found under the initials MIC. It is a security tool that can protect against data tampering. We can see this as a brand that the sender adds to their encrypted data. This marking is based on the amount of bits of data to be transmitted. And once the recipient has decrypted the data, they are going to compare their marking with the sender's, and if they are identical, then the recipient will safely assume that the data has not been altered on the road.